Okay.
You good?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Following is the agenda for the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes. Be held in the Pompton Lakes Municipal Building. Hello. It's not working, I can.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, barely. That's better. Okay.
Got it?
Yep. To be held in the Pompton Lakes Municipal Building, 25 Lenox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, September 11th, 2019, beginning at 7:30. Stand for the first one. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all have requested and paid for same, and published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Rucker. Here. Councilman Day.
Here.
Councilman Deline.
Here.
Councilman Giacometto.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori. Here. Councilman Brennan is excused.
Yes.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney Joseph Ragno and our Borough Administrator Kevin Boyle.
Okay, just an update real quick. Tomorrow, the DEP will be here to talk to our residents. They will be here between the hours of 10 and 4. They'll be over here in the map room along with the EPA. So if any residents are concerned about what's going on with the cleanup on the Camorras DuPont site and wants to talk to the DEP, that's a good time to do it. They don't show up quite often, so if you'd like to talk to the DEP, that's a good time. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Councilwoman Polidori? Councilman Giacometto? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Hand in the back, come on up.
Hello.
Hi.
Karen Dean, 21st Central Ave, I remember where I'm living, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. I just want to commend Randy Hitton for a wonderful job with the trees he has taken down on our street, and all the help he gave my sister and myself. Was beyond what they're doing, all those big twigs and whatever roots they left there. He was a big help, so I just want to give him kudos.
Our Shade Tree Commission does a great job here in town, no question. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up. Hi, how are you?
Daphne Samet. I live at 147 Summit Avenue. I would like to talk about the overabundance of deer. And it's become, I mean, you and I have talked about this socially like a year ago, and it just gets worse and worse. And it's like we have herds now. And I'm just concerned about the spread of Lyme disease. I'm really concerned about, because you see so many of them right now on Lakeside Avenue. There's so many young people driving out of that new field, which is great, by the way, but I'm just afraid of like another bad car accident, because nobody sees them anymore. And of course, they're destroying everyone's yards, but that's a whole other issue. So those are my three main issues. I was hoping we could have like a committee to like really study this and figure out what to do.
So, I agree with you. We have a deer population problem, no questions. And, just like every other town that have that.
Yes.
Morris County just passed a county-wide referendum to address the deer population. Passaic County has to do the same thing. If Passaic County got on board with a deer control or deer something, we would be on board with it. We would never fight that. The problem is, and I've said it from day one, is you can't clean up a small little 3-mile area and the deer just keep coming in.
But I swear to you, it's the same freaking deer. I mean, I see them all the time. I mean, there's herds now, and it just gets worse and worse.
It's getting worse and worse. So I think, and look, I will gladly support anybody who wants to go down and speak with the county, and maybe they could jump on the bandwagon here and come up with some type of agreement that they think should work.
Well, before you said you're waiting for the state, so now the state has...
States doesn't look like they're doing it.
I don't think Governor Murphy is going to come to it for a deer kill here. but...
Well, not here, it has to be in the areas. I'm not looking for something to come in just for Pompton Lake.
Oh, I understand that, but I think maybe we could be the leaders of it. I would volunteer to do, you tell me where to go, I'll go.
Well, I think the first step would be trying to get the county on board. If the county thinks we can do something with them, and they're going to make a countywide referendum on this, or decision on this, then the rest of the county has to follow. Now, Morris County had just started this, just recently, and they haven't tried it yet, they haven't even done anything with it yet. But, you know, we border Morris County also, so that's good if they did, and maybe they can follow what's been done in Morris already. But I'm a firm believer, I've worked with animals my whole life. The breeding population of a deer, getting rid of the deer from your yard is not going to make a difference.
I'm not talking about my
No,
yard.
I'm just using it as an example.
But I'm talking about, like, it has gotten really bad.
It is no question, and I am concerned with the things you brought up, Lyme disease and the accidents. That's definitely a concern.
I'm honestly very fearful of a bad car accident here.
So I would gladly, if I don't know which group, the environmental committee was going to look into this, if they want to move forward and talk to the county a little bit, I would be glad to help them do that.
The environmental committee.
Maria Kent,
Okay.
I think, Carl, you're on it, right? Right, yeah, Carl's on it. So maybe we start there and they come up with a little of an action plan. Maybe we get some other towns
What did
involved.
Morris County do? I grew up in Morris County, and I remember my mother, like 20 years ago, was like going nuts because she couldn't plant flowers anymore, but now it's gotten like
See,
a lot
Morris
worse.
County is a little different though, because they have a lot of area with open space too, because, they're different type of communities. But they have some communities, like Riverdale's in Morris County, so, but they're doing a controlled hunt on state property, which we don't have a lot of state
No,
property
we
in
don't.
town, so that really wouldn't work, but the county does. So they could start to reduce the numbers if they want to do that way. So what my suggestion is going to be is, why don't we start in the environmental club, get some ideas together. I can reach out to the county at some point, maybe set up a meeting with the executive there and see if he'll talk to us about it and take it from there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Wow, Mr. Hinton's hand went up so fast. Go ahead.
How did you know that I was in the...
You have long arms, that's why you got it first.
Listen, and we do have county property in our town.
Very limited, yes.
Well, no, we do have a good size in the south end of town. Also, on the
First,
20...
hold on, name and address.
You don't know my name?
Well, everybody knows your
Randy
name. but-
Hinton, 443 Montclair Ave.
Thank you.
On the 25th, if you would like to join us, we're going for CEUs for the Shade Tree Commission, right in Riverdale. And there's going to be a speaker from Rutgers University, Joseph Paulin, controlling deer and bear. And we'd be honored to have you, Mayor.
Well, I'm going to use my committee
It's in
to
the
look
morning,
at it.
on the 25th of September.
I'm going to use my committee members to go there and do that. I can't go to every meeting that's out there.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're available.
If I'm available.
You're retired now. And also, talk to Maria Kent.
Yes.
And she's willing to have, I brought in Dr. Emil DeVito once already, and she's willing to have him come again.
Okay.
Because this is a growing problem. And I know you're starting to be aware of it, because more and more people are telling you. Your councilman at the end can tell you, on camera, he's had problems in his own yard. Council President Weicker, she knows from talking to her landscaper that you had problems in your yard with the deer. Is that correct? You had mentioned that one time.
I have deer.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
assuming other people have deer too.
Sure.
I have the same deer that Mrs. Summit has.
Yeah, because you're right next door, yeah. But I mean, this is something, it's gonna take time to address. And, if you can make it, Mr. Mayor,
Again, and you know this from talking about this before, I am a firm believer that cleaning up Pompton Lakes of deer will make no difference. We need to do, I would like to see a state plan, but I don't know how involved that's going to happen with the state. So let's, can't talk from the audience, sorry. No. But if the state doesn't look like they're going anywhere with this, but maybe we can convince the county, because they have the same issues we have.
Correct.
So maybe we try with the county, we'll see what we can do with that. And I'd be okay with, if they came up with something.
and like Mr. Summit said, be a leader. We are a leader in cleaning the rivers, let's be a leader on taking care of the deer situation.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Jeff Kine and 1088 Ringwood Ave. I want to commend you all on a great ceremony out front. Excellent. And I want to thank you. And also, I want to volunteer if you need help getting rid of the deer.
Now, you said that very sneakily, I don't know what that really means, but... Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Council President Riker, Councilman Devine. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes of August 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Councilman Devine.
Second.
Councilwoman Palladori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Bills and claims. Motion to approve the bills as listed below.
So moved.
Councilman Devine.
Second.
Councilman Begg. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Consent agenda, whenever you're ready. Anybody want anything pulled?
Yeah, let's pull resolution number 6, resolution 19-179.
Whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, and whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to move resolution for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 19-174 through 178, and 179 is going to be pulled.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Council President Riker.
Second.
Councilman Begg. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Resolution 19-179.
Resolution pursuant to NJSA 4820-8 approving the application of 9 Hamburg Urban Renewal LLC for long-term tax exemption.
Yes, it's too cool because it should have not a voice vote today, but a vote by individuals. And what it is the approval for the long-term tax exemption for the 9 Hamburg Urban Renewal, which is in the newest area for in need of redevelopment.
We're talking about the pilot.
So they can pilot.
Pilot.
Well, the pilot's in the ordinance. Yeah.
All right. So let's, any discussion on that? Yeah, a motion?
So moved.
Council President Riker?
Second.
Giaconetta? All in favor? Well, we'll do
I have to do a
roll call, please.
Councilman Begg.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Councilman Giaconetta.
Yes.
Councilwoman Palladori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
We're going to move on to ordinances, 19-22, ordinance authorizing tax exemption and payment in lieu of taxes in connection with the redevelopment plan for Block 2800, Lot 11, and adopting and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement for payment in lieu of taxes with 9 Hamburg Urban Renewal LLC pursuant to state statute.
This ordinance, excuse me, this ordinance is also for the 9 Hamburg Urban Renewal property. And what it does is it approves the long-term tax exemption and the pilot for that particular piece of property, and also approves the financial agreement that will be the contract between the borough and the redeveloper.
Okay, so the pilot is what we've been steering for the last couple of years. It's payment in lieu of taxes. I'm just going to use examples here. If a building is paying $5,000 on taxes, on normal taxes, in a payment in lieu of taxes or a pilot, they might be paying $10,000 or $15,000, where 95% of that stays with us here, the town. It doesn't have to go to the county, and a small percentage, goes to the county, very small percentage, and the schools don't get money out of that either. Now, if the schools need something, as we move along, we have to okay their budget, so we can't say no to their budgets. So they're going to put in whatever they need. This is the way, through redevelopment, that we're going to stabilize our tax base for a little while. These pilots are 30 years long, so that it's not like this is a 5 or 10 year road. This is a very small one. This is 9 units. It's the first one we really did. Everyone sees the old Salvation Army projects going up. That has a pilot also. We'll have some other ones going up probably. And with that, we'll have some money coming in to help stabilize the taxes. That's what this is about. Motion to approve motion to approve ordinance 19-22 for introduction.
So moved.
Council President Riker?
Second.
Councilman Begg? Roll call, please.
Councilman Begg.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Councilman Giaconetta.
Yes.
Councilwoman Palladori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to my report, I have a motion to appoint Patrolman Danny Cottrell as Deputy Coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management, OEM. Can I
So
have
moved.
Councilman Day? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. We had our 9/11 ceremony tonight. You know, it's always a hard ceremony to have, especially when you see all the kids out there who probably really don't understand what happened. But, you know, like I said out there, you know, everybody knows where they were during 9/11 and remembers exactly what they were doing. And it's something that's not going to leave us. And I feel it's very important to have this ceremony every year. Like I said out there also, a couple of towns have decided not to do them anymore. The time has passed and they can't get people to show up. You know, Pompton always does things big here, so we have our people showing up, and it's important to get the message out to the kids. So I have to thank the staff, I have to thank everybody that put this together. It's all volunteer, everybody there, from the people that put the microphones out there to the fire department, everybody else, it's all volunteer, we don't pay anybody. So I thank everyone involved with that, and it was a very nice ceremony. Like I mentioned, the DEP will be here tomorrow along with the EPA. You can talk to both of them, or individually, or talk to them as a group. They're trying to come once a month with a lot of pressure from myself and Councilwoman Riker. We're trying to get them here once a month. For the last couple of years, they haven't shown up once, but they've been here now 3 out of the last 4 times, which is promising to see. You know, I understand that sometimes this becomes a heated conversation when you try to talk about it in public, and some residents, you know, want to get some answers about their own personal properties. That's the time to do it. Come here to the map room, they'll close the door, you can talk about your own property, your own concerns, your own problems, and, you know, you're getting the answer from the people that are doing the work. Those are the people that actually know what's the deal of what's going on there. So the DEP and the EPA will be here. Along myself and a bunch of council people attended the teachers' breakfast, which, you know, they have every year, and introducing all the new teachers and everybody coming in. It's always nice to see the new young teachers coming in. You know, this year I was excited to see my own daughter, which I call my baby, but she's no baby anymore, is going to start teaching math at the high school, so that's very exciting for me. And, you know, I see a lot of kids coming through the school system now that went through the school system and are now teaching in the school system. I'm a firm believer with my police department, fire, schools, that if you take the kids that are now adults, get them jobs in town, they care a little bit more than an outside person. And I do see that. I see that with our police department, and I see the school does that as best they can. Now, they're going to have to meet the qualifications, of course. I know one of the teachers they just brought in was from Hawaii. I don't know why she decided to come to Pompton Lakes, I don't know, but she's going to be here from Hawaii. So, you know, you have to meet the qualifications. But it was a nice breakfast. They did a great job, and it's always nice to see that. I had a meeting with Tilcon about some various projects that are going to go on. But at the end of the day, Tilcon is a supporter for us here in town. When we need something, they do help us. They helped us fund Pompton Day and other things. And in the last couple of years, I've coordinated with a bunch of residents over there that had some concerns about Tilcon's property over there, about the noise and the dust. And they've worked out a nice agreement with the residents there in Tilcon, and things are positive now for the first time on those streets, on Broad Street and Montclair, which is good to see. We're going to start some paving. The end of, is it October 1st, September 30th?
September 30th, October 1st.
Okay, so September 30th, we're going to be doing some major paving. We're hoping, if the weather stays, to get all the paving done in a week. So they're going to be doing Central, Elm, Willow, Walnut, Craig's Place, Cedar, Beach, Bedford, Miller. This is all through the Tilcon and the county and us. Cross Street, Montclair, Broad Street. Notifications will be going out to all the residents. I think we're going to do a mail, right? A mail, and also a reverse 911 call to let the residents know. Now, please remember, this all goes with weather. 5 days is a perfect 5 days. If one of those days rains, we're pushed back a little bit. Some of these streets are, you know, need some paving, and like I had said before, this is the first time this council or any council has identified through our streets in town and tried to put some money aside each year to fix streets, because we have county streets that the county has on a rotating basis. We have our own streets. I know a lot of people call me about Colfax Avenue. Half of Colfax will be being paved this year, hopefully around October also. It'll be the part further away from Pompton that the county owns. We split that road with the county, and then I think we'll be doing our half probably next year. Is that correct?
We have two cycles, next year, year after.
Next year and the year after. So please be patient. You know, you're getting some new roads out of this, and be patient with there's a lot of streets here. and listen to the requirements. If they tell you to move your car out of the driveway, you got to get your car out of the driveway, because once they start paving, you're not getting your car out of the driveway. So please, listen to the messages there. We had a meeting with Stigma Free. It was a very interesting meeting. There was a lot of good talk and conversation there. Stigma Free, if people aren't familiar with that, is identifying mental health and making it in the forefront. So if someone has a situation as a parent or a student or a person in town, they know that there's some people that they can go to and talk about that, not necessarily us as experts, but identifying that somebody needs to talk. The school has applied for their own grant and just received their own grant, which is nice to see. We did our own grant here, and we've trained about 50 or 60 people to be identified as a stigma-free person, and we're a stigma-free community, and we'll be doing more with that as we move forward. In typical Pompton fashion, I attended a benefit for Paul Persiva, who had some issues with health. I was speaking to him. He said, I didn't think a lot of people would show up. There was probably 200 people there, and he was amazed that people who didn't even know him came to support him in this event. But that's what we do here in Pompton Lake. So, someone heard that there was a situation and they went and helped. I thank the Elks for putting that together. I thank Jen Councilwoman Paldori for putting together part of that fundraiser. And all in all, it was a very nice event and a good job all done by everyone. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Council President Riker.
It's been a while since we met, since the summer meetings are once a month. So I'm going to start my remarks with Pompton Day. It was a very successful Pompton Day. I'm sure people will have comments from up here, but just to summarize, when the mayor and I were chatting, he said to me, he thinks this was the best one yet. And I'll let you expand on that, but...
Can I jump in for a second?
I assume you would.
I'm sorry, I forgot that.
But you forgot.
Our recreation staff does an outstanding job with Pompton Day, and this is not a thing that takes a week to plan. This takes 6 months, a year to put together. Again, all volunteers, all do what they have to do. This year it was particularly nice because the weather was so nice. The residents just kind of hung around in the streets talking to their friends and talking to people they haven't seen in a while, which made it great for Pompton Day, a little rough for us to try to get everybody out of there for the fireworks in time. Fireworks were a great set of fireworks. This was, it was our anniversary, 15 years, so we made it a little longer. It was long. It was 30 minutes of fireworks. That's pretty long. I thank the rec department. I thank everybody who put the time and energy into it. Again, that's another group. If you'd like to be involved to help, please reach out. We're always looking for new ideas and new people to run things there. We want to keep changing it up a little bit. The petting zoo, for example, was something new this year, or the last 2 years, and it was a big hit. So if you come up with some ideas, you can always reach out to myself or Karen Murphy and say, hey, look, this is a good idea. I saw it somewhere else. With that, I'm sorry. Now you can go.
No, I would...
Thank you for reminding me.
You're quite welcome. Just to finish up on Pompton Day, there was an article in Hometown Life a few days ago, and it said, Hirschfield Park celebrates 80 years of fun, and it gave a very interesting history of Hirschfield's involvement in the community. But in addition, if you didn't see the article, the thing that struck me is that there was an ad. They had an ad from the dedication, and it was 80 years ago in 1939. But in the ad, it said Pompton Lakes Labor Day Program. So this is the precursor to our current Pompton Day. But it was dedicated in 1939, and I guess I'm bringing it to people's attention because I wouldn't be surprised. There are probably a few people in town who remember that. We're old enough to tell us a little bit about what that was like. So it just struck me as our Pompton Day has really evolved over the years, and this was our 15th year celebration. But I'd love to hear what Pompton Lakes Labor Day program looked like a while back. I want to acknowledge the 9/11 ceremony. Very moving. I want to thank Liz and Kathy and Barbara in the office. They really work hard to put it together, in addition to all the volunteers and the scouts and the band and the fire department and the first aid who all come and participate. This morning I had the opportunity to watch some of the 9/11 commemorative ceremonies that they did down where the towers fell. And one of the things that they highlighted is the fact that this is the 18th year. An 18th year means that every student, that the 18-year-olds were just born then. So it's only our college population and beyond was alive then. And this was one of the first years I remember them bringing up small children to read some of the names, to bring nieces and nephews to read some of the names. And I really find it really moving, the way Pompton makes sure we get our scouts and our band, and we try to bring this to the community, but especially the youngsters who just were not there on that day. So in addition to the remarks that were made, I think it is really special that we really are making sure we act on the notion of we will never forget. My next comments are about recycling. There was an article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal entitled "States Rethink Recycling." And New Jersey was mentioned in the article. But even if New Jersey hadn't been mentioned in the article, it basically highlights the fact that China's just not taking the recycling anymore. And what they didn't mention is that they, particularly one of the real problem areas is our plastic bags. And I brought my little, where is mine? It's right here. No, it's here. So people may not, we've worked so hard to get people to realize that we have an active recycling program here in town. But there's now these boxes, we have one in the back here, but I don't know where else they are, where they're encouraging you not to put these bags in normal recycle, because these bags apparently are detrimental to our normal mixed-use recycling. So this is my little bag from this week's of the things that shouldn't go in my normal recycle. I'll put it in the back. But I guess I wouldn't mind the administrator just commenting on where we are and in terms of who takes it and what's cost efficient to us and what isn't.
Well, to answer your question, first of all, that's just a pilot program that the DNO workers working with the county on. The bins are in a couple places. We set to, I think, move them around for a plastic bag type thing. But in terms of recycling in general, I think I mentioned to you, I think it was probably late last year, that we're actually paying now to get rid of recycling. There is no, it's still cheaper than taking it to the landfill as a dump item, but now we're not paying for that because China isn't taking our recycling.
Well, one of the things basically the article indicated, and this is much bigger than Pompton Lakes, is that with China not taking it, that it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs, and basically it's that there will need to be, as they describe, a market made for this, that people will start doing it here. I just would like to ask you about this pilot program. I know we have the boxes, we have them here, we have them in other places. Who is sponsoring that?
It's the county.
That's the county. Obviously, what we put in there, we don't have to pay for. Would we be,
I'm not really sure what Dan takes that, but I know we clean out the bins and it goes down to Dan. I'm not sure where it really goes to you guys, not sure.
Okay, because I guess I remember when we really had a big push on recycling up here at the dais. And we did all these programs. We went into the scouts and the schools and the churches and everywhere. I guess, are we sending the same message that we did 10 years ago, or are there things you want us to change?
The problem is going to be is, just like the administrator mentioned, if this isn't straightened out, it's going to reach a tipping point where it's cheaper to send it with regular garbage than it is to send it recycling. So if somebody those entrepreneurs you're talking about, or whoever doesn't come up with something, it's a cost-effective measure. That's why you're doing recycling, because it saves us money. If it's cheaper to send it in regular garbage, then that's what all the towns are going to start doing, sending it in regular garbage. So it's when that number gets too high. We used to make a good amount of money on recycling. Now we're paying, and as that gets higher and higher and higher, when it reaches to what we pay to take regular garbage, then we'll just call it regular garbage. I can't tell you which way it's going to go.
No, of course not. The bins that you're speaking of, can somebody get us so that we can get the word out there where they are and encourage people to start getting this stuff out of their recycling as things we don't pay for?
I'll check with Dan. I thought Dan had done that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there were some emails going back and forth when he was still exploring the program. I know that they're in each one of the schools, because we had talked about doing something like that. I believe there's definitely one at the recycling center. There may be one in the library. I'm not entirely positive, but we had talked about some locations. So it's not just the back of Borough Hall.
Right.
I'll work with Mike Corelli to get that message out through our website and social media.
And if you find, I'm assuming they'll be happy to give us more boxes if there's some reason.
I don't know, it was a pilot, so I don't know.
Okay, that would be, would you check that, because we've got between Mike Corelli, between Facebook, between the fact that we've got a very active group of volunteers, if that would really help us, I'd like to get the word out, and let's keep this out of our recycle, whatever little bit it may save us. River cleanup. On the agendas, it mentions that river cleanup is Sunday, September 29th. I was chatting with Maria Kent, and she asked me to please remind people that river cleanup is open. It's not just the environmental committee, and she anticipates very successful river cleanup because they're working with the high school, with the environmental club. So she's hoping to have a lot of young, able-bodied workers to help, and encourages anyone in the community to come out. It's Sunday, September 29th, starting at 11 a.m. My only other quick comments are on redevelopment. The mayor spoke a lot about our resolution and our ordinance. This 9 Hamburg Turnpike property looks like it's going to be a very nice project. It's a small project. It's right on the Riverdale border, but it really looks like it will be a huge improvement in terms of what's over there. There is something and if you were watching what's going on at the quote-unquote Salvation Army project, that they're moving along quite nicely. When I drove by it today, I noticed that the signage regarding renting seems to be gone. And so people are constantly asking all of us up here, how do I get my name on the list? What are they renting them for? When will they be open? Is there a way for you to reach out to the redeveloper and get us a number or something?
I can call the developer, the general.
So that we can, because I know we're not the ones handling it, but there seems to be a lot of interest if we can get that out.
They might have taken the banner down because they're doing that side.
They're doing that side, exactly. But then the complaints were when you called that number, the machine was
Yeah, let's find out about that, yeah.
So if we can get them, it's in their best interest to make contact with the people who seem to be interested, so. And Mayor, that's my report.
All right, thank you. Just to follow up on Pompton Day, one last comment. There's a lot of Labor Day celebrations throughout the state of New Jersey. News 12 did call us to find out what was going on here. They did an interview with myself and some people on Pompton Day. It shows you it's a pretty big event if News 12 is picking out of all the places to pick. They went through like Clifton and other towns, and then they came to Pompton Lakes. That's nice to see, and we don't see that enough, so I'd like to see more of that. Councilman Beggs.
I received the Pompton Lakes Police Department's report for the month of August 2019 from Chief Moses Augusto. There were 2,684 calls for service for the month of July. And there were 1,062 motor vehicle stops, 609 motor vehicle summonses issued, 14 motor vehicle accidents investigated, 46 ambulance requests, 4 DWI arrests, 26 alarm conditions burglary, 2 alarm conditions fire, no burglaries, 1 theft, 15 domestic violence, no sexual assaults, and no aggravated assaults. The Detective Bureau investigated 5 complaints during the month, served 9 subpoenas, and completed 13 background checks. I received the Pompton Lakes Fire Department report for the month of August 2019 from Fire Prevention Chief Al Bruno. He reports the 31 calls for the month and 225 calls for the year so far. I received the Pompton Lakes Riverdale First Aid Squad report from Chief Sean Pulepe. There were 87 calls for service for the month. There were 43 calls in Pompton Lakes, 24 calls in Riverdale, 8 duty calls in Wanacue. There were 56 medical emergency calls, 13 trauma calls, 2 CPR calls, 2 motor vehicle accident calls, and 4 fire calls. I attended the Pompton Lakes Board of Education meeting on September 3rd. Superintendent Paul Amoroso reported that since the Pompton Lakes Education Foundation was formed. The district has received donations of $200,000 from the foundation. The board received a thank you note from Dawn Gosson for the district's participation in National Night Out. The board received a report from Superintendent Amoroso regarding AP courses. He reports that there has been a strong increase in student participation in those courses in the last 7 years, and much higher grades that are of interest to the colleges, 3 and above. I also attended the Pompton Lakes Board of Education meeting on September 10th. At the meeting, the board selected Sherman Williams as Sequoia Gold for the color of the high school dome, which is being done by the contractor of 43 Lakeside Avenue, the apartments there, the developer. He's going to do the program for free, the painting. The board also set October 15th, 2019 at 6 p.m. for the dedication of the new fields at Lakeside School. I attended the Pompton
What was
Lakes...
that date again? Say that?
10:15.
10:15?
I attended the Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition meeting August 22nd, 2019. Coalition Coordinator Ashley Lusick reported the coalition participated in the National Night Out on August 6th, and that they gave 200 giveaway bags distributed containing drug education material. She also reports she met with the Pompton Lakes Superintendent, Paul Amoroso, to coordinate the 2019 student school drug survey. She also reports that Chilton Hospital will be sponsoring a course, mental health first aid training, to be held at the Pompton Lakes Civic Center on October 7th and 8th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I attended the Pompton Lakes Chamber of Commerce meeting September 10th. The Chamber received correspondence from Glow House Kids, 227 Wanacue Ave, advising that they will be holding a Red Cross blood donation program on September 18th, and that will be from 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. The Chamber's Unlocked Treasure Chest Contest was a great success with 18 winners. President Art Kafka reports the following upcoming events. September 19th, Thursday Sound Concert at the Pompton Lakes Library Lawn. October 5th, 2019, Paper Shredding Day in the Pompton Lakes Pond Hole parking lot. October 13th, Chamber of Commerce Car Show. That's always a great show. November 6th, bid book sale at Columbia Bank. And that's my report, basically. I just would like to comment on the ceremony tonight. I thought it was a very good ceremony. The participation of all the organizations, the Scouts, the school band, the priest from St. Mary's, and the minister from Pompton Falls, the sheriff, it all brought the program together and made for a very solemn evening. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Dennett's not here, but I know he wanted me to bring up, we're looking at doing a celebration through the Historic Committee of 125th anniversary of Pompton Lakes. They'll be doing a whole event. We're looking at sometime in July. It looks like a big event that we're going to spend a year planning, and with the bid and the help of a lot of organizations in town, we're trying to make it a bigger celebration. So I think more will follow on that, and when Councilman Venn is back, he'll give us more information on the date and time of that.
It's supposed to be July 25th, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, July 25th?
That's right.
Okay, July 25th. Okay, Councilman Devine.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to start off by, again, thanking everyone who put on the 9/11 ceremony tonight. As soon as the day starts, you start seeing social media posts, never forget, we will always remember, things like that. And sometimes it feels a little bit too easy to do those kind of things and throw up a picture and say, today's September 11th. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and it's an actualization of the fact that people are keeping that in the forefront of their psyche. When it comes to September 11th, it turns that date, and it continues to be a very important date, especially those people that, like you said, do remember exactly what they were doing, when the planes hit those towers, and when it hit the Pentagon, and when it landed in that field in Pennsylvania. But you always wonder, how much do people remember? How much do they carry it forward? So, driving in today, 20 minutes before the ceremony begins, you're always kind of wondering, okay, how many people are going to be here this year? And, the streets blocked off, and, the police cars are out and the fire trucks are there. And it's always very heartening to see our community come out on this date and really show a very solemn remembrance for that date. It's always a very moving ceremony. So again, I want to thank everybody that makes the ceremony happen, because it is an important event every single year, regardless of how many years it has been since then. To that point, I want to commend Councilman Bennon, who is actually participating. He's providing support in the 9/11 Promise Run. The 9/11 Promise Run, I don't exactly know what organization it is that does that, but he's part of the UPS team that is providing support, and there are runners that run essentially from the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and to the location of the towers in New York City, and they just arrived, I guess, to Trenton last night, or today, and he was actually running a little bit, so I'll give him a little bit of actually doing some running for once, but, it's good that, I just want to commend him for participating in that program.
And, it's nice to see Pompton Lakes represented.
Absolutely. And, again, Pompton Day was, and to echo your comments, it was one of the best ones I can easily remember. The weather was amazing the entire day through. Everybody was in great mood. We had a great amount of attendees, and it does. The Recreation Commission needs to be commended, our police, our DPW, everybody that, works hard throughout the day to really make an event special for Pompton Lakes residents and our visitors, and, all the businesses and nonprofit groups that show up. I was sitting in the Flood Advisory Board / Lake Restoration Committee, and, we had a lot of people come up talking about the photo contest that actually is still ongoing. To that point, again, if you go to the Flood Advisory Board, or the Lake Restoration Facebook page, the Pride, they're hosting a Picture Pompton Lakes event, photo contest, which they've been doing the past couple of years. The winners of the group chosen will be announced shortly, but there's still an ongoing contest through the end of the September, that if you submit a picture, will be open to public vote, and that person will also be eligible for winning a kayak.
Where do they do that?
What's that?
Where do they vote?
So I'm not quite sure the mechanisms of voting. I think they submit it through the Facebook page, and then at some point the announcement will be that voting is open, and there'll be a link to another page that can do all the vote accumulation and things like that. But if you're interested, it's a photo of any water body in Pompton Lakes, Twin Lakes, Pompton Lake, any of our 3 rivers, things like that. On August 28th, I attended the Flood Advisory Board meeting. One of the main topics of conversation was Passaic County is updating their hazard mitigation plan. They have to do so every 4 to 5 years. They're in the process now, so the board was coming up with some recommendations to send off to Al for his review and input into the hazard mitigation plan. There are open meetings associated with the hazard mitigation plan. The meeting will be on October 10th at the Passaic County Safety Academy in Wayne. So if you want to find out more about what the hazard mitigation plan is, why it's important, provide some input, October 10th is the date of that meeting. And recently, the Stormwater Management Committee, we got an updated draft of the Rutgers Floodplain Restoration and Implementation Plan. That was we hired Rutgers to do that study to kind of determine what the best way is to utilize those properties on the south end that have been acquired and preserved through Green Acres and Blue Acres. In the past, we've gone through the process of, just letting them return to a natural state. Well, then it became an issue because it's not like there's large stretches of land. We also are dealing with pockets of residential, so having sort of uncontrolled growth and unmanaged growth became a quality of life issue for many residents that live down there. This takes a step back and said, okay, well, there's that, and then there's a way to manage floodplain restoration properly, and here's the kind of plantings you want to do, this is the way to do it. So that's what this plan is really all about. So, we're in the process of, because we could just receive the updated plan, reviewing that, making additional comments, and then hopefully finalizing it, and then creating sort of an implementation strategy on how do we utilize those properties, and for the best use of them for flood mitigation and prevention and things like
So that's important, because, like you just mentioned, unfortunately, they didn't buy out whole streets or whole areas. They picked where they wanted to buy the houses out, and we had no control over that. So I had, initially, like you said, we were going to just let it go back to natural state, but I had residents calling and complaining, there's a lot between my house and another house, and it's just filled with bugs and weeds and animals, and you can't leave it like that. So certain situations, the town right now is cutting some of that grass back a little bit, if it's around residential areas. If it's open space where they took a whole street out, we're going to let that grow back. But if there is a plan coming forward, that would help us greatly in making that decision.
That's the idea behind this plan.
Good.
And that concludes my report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. You brought up the flooding and the permitting. There were some comments about work in the river down near Joe Grill Field. There are permits involved with that. The state is involved in the permitting that we have. The gentleman who's doing the work is following the guidelines and doing everything he's supposed to down there. What he's basically doing is removing all the debris and shoals out of the water to make the water flow better, like we've done on the other side, and we found that does make a difference. To make that happen, you do have to get state permits to do that. It's a long, tedious process to get those permits, but we did get them, and we are moving forward. I will tell you enough that we have been asking Wayne for many years to kind of do the same thing we're doing here in Pompton Lakes, and they didn't. They just applied for a grant to get more work in the rivers the same way we're doing it. So they're going to have to go through the whole permitting process and maybe start cleaning up some waterways in Wayne. And the idea is if every community cleans up their waterways in their town all the way down to Newark Bay, at least the water will flow to Newark Bay. Now, of course, on a big flood, that's not going to stop a big flood, but the nuisance floods that we have will help us get that water flowing. It's the blockages that cause the water to back up. So it is, in my eyes, it's very important to do that. Councilman Giaconetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to echo the sentiments of the mayor and the other council in regards to the Pompton Day and the 9/11 ceremony tonight. Just hard to believe 18 years. You think back, and myself, I was working that night as an officer. Bill was my captain at the time, Councilman Begg, when all this happened and went down. And to think of that time and during those days and everything back and forth to the city and here and all the stuff we went through with the task force and everything, and to think fast forward to today, and you see 18 years, like, it just felt like it went that quick. So it is quite amazing how time truly does fly. And Councilwoman talked about the kids are only 18 and above. The kids, there are a lot of children out there that they don't even know. They weren't even born. So it is truly amazing. Time does fly, but thank you to everybody, Liz, that puts that on, and it's a wonderful event, and it's good that we still remember, and kudos for that. Real quick, I had attended the Board of Health meeting, and at the Board of Health meeting, we had Aurora Delon. She is our health educator with Atlantic Health System, Chilton Hospital, and she did come in and talk about the stigma-free to the Board of Health, and did talk about a couple of us on the Board of Health did go for the mental health first responder training, which was held, and it's coming up in October, that Councilman Begg just talked about. And there was a 2-day part in regards to first responder to respond to somebody with a mental health issue, and how to talk to them, how to deal with them, and it was very informative. So a couple more people from the Board of Health are going to go, and all in support of the stigma-free, so that is going well. They did report that the school did get their grant with theirs, so they're going to have their own separate thing with the school, so which was good to hear. As far as also did attend the Shade Tree meeting the same night. Now, the Shade Tree meeting, there was a total of 45 hours of volunteer work last month alone by the 5 volunteers that we have there. So it was pretty good accomplishment. Also, some good news, we're getting there on the spring pruning and tree removal list. We have a few more to go. I did want to thank Kevin to sending a letter to reaching out to our contractor. This has been a sticking point, trying to get this moving. So I thank Kevin for sending out the letter, trying to get on him and hopefully get some better response to get some of these tree lists removed. Matter of fact, we had a couple couples that came in that night and were asking, they came in 2 months ago, I think. I asked, listen, what's going on? You told us this, and we said, listen, you gotta hang in there, and one was from Mandeville, I forget where the other one was from, but, we told them to hang in there, that we didn't forget about it, it's on the list. And the only unfortunate thing, once we finally finish this list, we have another list already started for fall, that we have a lot of trees and prunings that we have to do. So I would just tell everybody, if you're on the list, we will get there, to please bear with us, we're working on it, and, hopefully we'll get that going, and, just to let everybody know that. That's all I had, Mayor.
All right, thank you. You actually reminded me, along with Shade Tree Commission and OEM, I had a meeting with Jersey Central Power and Light to address the concerns of what we call the hill, the power going out up there constantly. And the Jersey Central person came and walked the whole route with us to take a look of why we have power outages so numerous up there, more so than anywhere else. And there's a couple of reasons. There's a lot of overgrown trees over the branching, and they said they will address that and send the teams up to try to cut some of that wood back, especially going up Summit. And the other thing was the way the lines run there, they kind of dead end into a corner, and then that corner is on the back side there, that's very heavily wooded there. So when a tree branch comes down there, it just doesn't take out that little street, it takes out the whole neighborhood. At the cost on their end to try to recircuit everything, it's a very expensive cost, but they are going to look into maybe identifying the lines and different type of lines they could use. I think Mr. Hinton or somebody, or Al Evangelista brought up the fact that those lines are very old, and so when a branch hits them, they're not as elastic as they used to be. That branch just hits them and snaps them, and that's why the power goes out a lot up there. So they are going to try to address it. At least they came and looked at it. I've been in Pompton a while, and we've had a lot of outages up that way, so, we have to figure out. So I thank everybody who showed up for that. Councilwoman Paldori.
Thank you. Okay, so I do always like to bring attention to how passionate I am about our town's sense of community spirit and collaboration efforts, and that is evident across so many things that have taken place in the last few weeks, not only in our effort to support each other in our community, but in our celebrations and in tonight's remembrance ceremony for the tragic events that took place on 9/11. Pompton Day is certainly a tremendous effort in collaboration and community spirit, and it's a celebration of our town. As the liaison for the Rec Committee this year, I had the opportunity to work firsthand with some of the members of the Rec Committee and actually got to see how much work goes into making an event like that possible and successful. So I do want to thank everyone that helped bring everyone together. The fireworks were amazing. We had our own Joe Vagnetto sit at the front table for many hours that morning, making sure that all the vendors were in their right spots, and then he went on to DJ numerous other hours for the event. And I was able to actually spend some time transporting people up and down the street that were unable to walk back to their cars at some point in the afternoon, and I did have a couple in their 80s who had been married for 60-something years who had met in school here in town and went on to marry each other and have a family that moved back here for a little while, and she couldn't go on enough about how much this town meant to her. And just having my son on the cart with me and having him watch this couple talk about how much they love this town and how much they love coming back here and going on and on about the stories they remember from when they were little and the walks they used to take. It meant a lot to me to hear that, because this is a town that I've chosen to stay in, to raise my family here as well, and just to see that difference in age and that pride and love of the town still there was really quite remarkable. And in addition to our traditional Pompton Day celebration, this was the second year that the Elks had added their carnival to the event, which is a very nice, actually, addition to the day. They have some carnival rides and games and additional food vendors. It's grown in popularity. They did better this year than they did last year. Hopefully they continue to bring that back, because I do think it adds a nice component to the afternoon. And when I think of the Elks in general, and I think about our collaboration and our community spirit, I do think of an organization that goes above and beyond to support not only our residents, but the community as a whole. I did have the chance on the weekend of the 23rd to volunteer for a few hours, both on Friday night and Sunday morning, at their monthly pasta dinner and their breakfast that they do on Sunday mornings. A lot of their fundraising efforts go to support our veterans and our special needs and disabled children's causes. And then again, this past weekend, they did their annual family picnic where they chose to support one of our residents who is a longtime member of our community, who has had some medical issues and is in need of a little financial assistance. And for me, I've known Paul for a long time. So for us to have so many friends come back that don't even live in the area anymore to show their support, it's a constant reminder of how passionate people that are from this town are about supporting each other. So thank you to everyone that helped make that possible also. Tonight's ceremony was just awe-inspiring. I honestly, it was very difficult to listen to Sheriff Burdnick talk about what those sounds were that he heard, the beeping. I had no idea that was, once that was explained, it just kind of stopped me for a minute. So I do want to take a minute to thank all of our first responders that are out there every day, getting up in the middle of the night, police, ambulance, fire, doing everything they can do to keep our community safe, because it's when tragic events like that strike, those are the people that are out there doing everything they can and risking their own lives to make sure that we're protected. So thank you. And thank you to everyone that made that possible tonight. Additionally, soccer season started this past weekend. I'm honored to be coaching and sponsoring a team. We won our first game. Hopefully we continue that. So good luck to all the teams that are playing this year. Coffee with the Council started up again this month. It was this past Monday. The next two dates will continue to be held for the time being at Starbucks, and that would be October 7th and November 4th. Coffee with the Council is an opportunity for residents to come out in a relaxed setting outside of a council meeting, outside of the Borough Hall, and sit with whatever council members are available for an hour, have a cup of coffee, and just connect with us as people and talk to us about some questions or concerns that you may have or suggestions that you have. So I encourage you to come out and get to know us a little better on those nights. Let's see, what else? The river cleanup is coming up on Sunday, September 29th. Last year, I went with my son, and I was very happy to have him there picking up garbage. I think it's a great thing for the kids to do, because I think it helps them. You know, I'm sure that there's no child that wants to walk around and pick up litter, so hopefully when we make them do that, they'll think a little bit before they ever would dare to throw anything on the ground. So I encourage everyone to come out and bring your families and help clean up the community. John Michael was with me. We actually helped clean up the area of the soccer field where he plays every Saturday, so I'm hoping that resonated with him, and hopefully I can get him out there again this year. For the rec committee, we have the Halloween hunt coming up on October 20th. I encourage you to continue to check the rec website to see what the dates for the current fitness programs are that we're offering. And I do want to extend a very warm welcome back to all of our students in all of the grades. This is their first full week back at school, so I wish them well. I hope they have a very productive year. And that would have been my report, but I did add one extra piece because I just wanted to shine a spotlight on Councilman DeWine for a minute. I thought it was very kind of you to commend Eck for the activity that he participated in. So I do want to make mention of the fact that outside of the community, we do a lot up here as council men and women for Pompton Lakes, but in our own time, we do go outside of the community and support organizations that mean a lot to us as well. So I know that you recently participated in an event that was helping to raise money for Homeless Solutions, which is an event that, as an organization that, as you know, I've also become aware of. I think they do tremendous work, so I want to thank you for your extreme physical efforts in supporting them. If you want to tell everybody what that was.
Through work, we linked up with an organization called Homeless Solutions. They're based out of Morris County. They do a whole host of programs. They do workforce training. They do transitional housing for people basically moving from homelessness. And I struggle to explain how many programs they actually do. But every year they participate in the Garden State Fondo, which is a massive bicycle event in northern New Jersey. Rides out basically through Morris County, but some people go out as far as Delaware Water Gap in Pennsylvania. So I managed to find a pretty cheap bike off of Facebook Marketplace, and I rode 40 miles, fundraised as part of that, and it was great to connect with all the people that were part of Homeless Solutions, all the people that make that event possible. They actually that event actually supports a number of nonprofit organizations, including Homeless Solutions, but also the Seeing Eye, New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition, a few others and things like that. But it was a really great event to find, to talk to all the great organizations that do those kind of things, not just in Pompton Lakes, but around the state as well.
Well, I'm proud of you, so thank you. And that is my report.
Thank you. Congratulations, Eric, for all the hard work outside. I have a note from the DPW. First of all, we have to thank the DPW for all the time and energy they put in on Pompton Day too, our police and everybody else. But we had some situations with garbage being picked up with liquid in the garbage cans. They will no longer pick up a garbage can if there's liquid in it from rain or for something else, because we're having issues with it splashing out of the truck. So you have to either keep your top on your garbage or put some holes on the bottom of your garbage can to let the water drain out. You will get a sticker put on your can. It's not a fine, it's not anything, but it's just telling you why the garbage wasn't picked up. This is coming from the state, so we have to abide by their rules. So the easiest solution is just, drill a hole in the bottom of your garbage can or put a top on the garbage can so liquid water doesn't get in. Because the idea is not to throw the water into the truck and then the truck drives around leaking water. So this is a new something you'll be starting to see. If you get a sticker on your can, just identify it and move forward with fixing the problem. Professional reports. The Minister's report.
Just a couple things, Mayor. We received notification from the State County Improvement Authority that they're going to be starting a interlocal service for communities on foreclosed and vacant properties. They are going to start a database to allow Sal and John and our building department and our property maintenance to be able to keep better track of those vacant properties in the community, which also ties into some of the regulations we put on the books for the last few years too. So that's going to be a new program. We're going to be going to a meeting on the 24th of September, and should roll out sometime in October. We received our fifth and final $125,000 from the Department of Health and Human Services for our pollution grant for the first 5-year period. Hard to believe 5 years is up. We're already working on the application for year 6, but that was approved and received the other day. We had a meeting yesterday with the contractors of doing our handicap ramp program. They'll be starting that on the 16th of September. It also includes doing the whole back of the building. We're going to take all the concrete out, do handicap ramps on the back of the building as part of that program. And lastly, Passaic County is having an interpretive workshop. If you've seen the information, you want to have signs to direct you to different places in the communities. This is where, in Lambert Castle, this is Great Falls, same thing up county. They're having an interpretive workshop at the end of the month. I'll be going to that.
Are they looking at putting signs up? Is that their idea?
Yeah, well, we have historic places in town. They're going to have interpretive signs directed to those places.
Okay, are they going to be responsible for those signs after 5 years?
I'll find out. I go to the workshop.
Ask them that question, because signs to me are just a litter after 2 years that you can't read anymore. So let's make sure they're responsible.
I'll ask that question.
Any questions for our administrator? No. Okay. To have a motion to open the meeting for public comments. So moved. Councilman Devine?
Second.
Councilwoman Palladori? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
Jimmy Rose, 410 Colfax Avenue. I do want to echo about Pompton Day. I've volunteered in one capacity or another for 15 years, whether it was planning, checking vendors in,
Fear factor.
making children throw up things in Fear Factor, which I'm so happy we stopped before we got sued. I think a lot of it had to do with, not to take anything away from the volunteers, but the weather just worked out really well. I have been doing traffic control for like the last 5 years, and it's always fun at the end when everybody's been out there in 95-degree weather. So can you guys put forth a resolution to have every Pompton day henceforth be 75 degrees?
We've been pretty lucky so far.
Sun and clouds and everything. I did want to address the deer population. I think you said there's no state level attempt to do anything about this, and I think you're on the right track at the county level attempt to do something, because I think fixing that town by town, and all the towns suffer from this around us, right? So it would be like having a non-smoking table in a smoking casino, or a non-peeing part of the pool. It's not going to work if you don't do it all over. Are the mayors in Passaic County getting together to talk to the county at a level to do something about this?
There has been no official talk, but, I talk to some of the mayors from time to time, and they all say the same thing that we're saying. We have a deer situation, but until something comes out that tells me how to do this, we can't afford to fix it, or we can't just fix our town. But it's not a bad idea. I can reach out to the other mayors and see if they want to put a group together that goes to the county with it. You know, it would have to be the mayors from Passaic County, that's the ones they're going to listen to, but we can do that. It's
I
not a
mean,
bad idea.
there's 16 towns in Passaic County,
Yeah.
and I'm sure most of them would get together. I don't know whether you guys have a hotline or a secret Facebook group or
Yes,
something
that's
like
exactly it.
that, where you guys can all get together and talk about this, and en masse go and talk to whoever the responsible parties would be in the county level, so.
We could, that's
I
a
think
good
it would
idea.
help.
That's a good idea.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public, please step up.
My name is Dr. Keith Lockwood. I live at 9 Center Street in Pompton. I wanted to also thank the council of the town for the 9/11 ceremony. As a person who was 3 blocks from the World Trade Centers when that came down, I was a special ed supervisor for the Board of Education in the city of New York, and I had a particular personal experience with it. So to this day, it was actually a nice day like actually it is today. And so I have quite a curious impressions of it to this very moment. I wanted to point out that, again, I mentioned before, July 25th, for the Historic Commission, as a member of the Historic Commission, we want to actually set aside some time so that we can actually, that's the day that we actually want to dedicate to have the 120th anniversary of Pompton Lakes in 2020. As a descendant of my great-great-grandfather Lockwood, who was the person who signed the preparation papers of the town. That's my Uncle Alf, my great-great-grandfather.
So let's not bypass what he just said. His family goes back to the initial signing of Pompton Lakes. That's an important fact.
So I'm excited to be a part of the Historic Commission, and I look forward to contributing on whatever level I can contribute. One last side note to the council, if you ever need, I am a sign language interpreter, so if you ever need someone to interpret, let me know.
Great to know. All right, thank you. Anyone else from the what's this place called? Public. Want to speak? All right, come on, I was going to say no, but now you said yes.
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. I also didn't get a chance to say, but Pumpkin Day was one of the best ones that I've ever attended. And we went to the fireworks, and they were longer, and they were so much better. It was really a great day. I want to thank Karen Murphy. She did a heck of a job. I saw Jennifer riding around on the golf cart, helping people out all day long. And it really was a nice time. And the 9/11 ceremony also was a great time. I'm glad to see that you, Mayor, and the council still do that every year. It's really an honor. On a negative note, North Canal Greenway is still in bad shape. I walked it again the other day. I walked it again the other day.
I like that word, I.
Like that.
I's a good word.
I like that word, yeah. And it's still, I know the Trail Committee is doing a heck of a job, but they all work, they all have lives, and
that's where it stops, unfortunately. The DPW will not be going in there.
well, but we're trying to offer something to the town, and it's in terrible shape.
That
So
was,
you're gonna have to do something. That's
that was
all.
the deal set up before it was put in place.
Well, whatever the deal was. Right. The deal's not working.
Well, then we're going to have to address that.
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Thank you. Also, I just wanted to, with the Shade Tree Commission, at our last meeting, I was talking to Frank, and we have 2 insects coming at us. One is the spotted lanternfly, and the other is the emerald ash borer. And I got to say, if I may approach the bench. This is the spotted lanternfly. I talked to an agricultural agent from Hunterdon County, and he doesn't seem to be too concerned about it. But the emerald ash borer is going to be a big problem. And we talked at the Shade Tree Commission about that, and I had our town New Jersey Certified Tree Expert, John Linson. He sent me a brochure, and if I could pass that to you. Talked with Frank, and you talk in your own private session as to what you want to do to address the emerald ash borer coming. This is a pamphlet that we could possibly send around to all the residents. But talking with Kevin, it's going to be an expense if you want to do that. So that's the pamphlet that we would like to do. We have time on that. Want to give Liz the votes?
You don't want to take it. It stops here.
But these are the things that we're doing at the Shade Tree Commission, and
So, the mailing is expensive, but maybe we could talk to Al about a one-time reverse 911 call if we feel it's important enough. That's something we'd have to discuss, just telling everybody what to look for and what's in this pamphlet. But the mailing is pretty expensive.
yeah, we have time on the Emerald Ash Borer,
Yeah.
but time does pass.
We figured about, so it could be several hundred of these ash trees. A lot of them are on borough property, but a lot of them are on private property.
Right.
So the people don't know. So what we're trying to do, if we have a little threefold maybe, almost like, like a one pamphlet.
Yeah.
Just to try to show them or put it on Facebook.
It's not
or-
making the pamphlets the problem, it's mailing it to all the homes.
Exactly, right.
Well,
That's
it's
the
the cost,
problem.
it's the expense of doing that.
But this is what we
We
talked
can
about.
make pamphlets up and
We
have
can come
them
up
here.
with something maybe.
Yeah, we can come up with something like that.
Yeah.
Only presenting this to
Randy,
you.
I'm reading this, and I read it fast. Does it tell you what to do to get rid of it?
Yeah, chop the tree down.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is a start.
Yeah.
This is a
Okay.
start for people to identify the problem.
But
If
once
they
you
have-
identify, I'm not making a joke.
No,
Once you
no, really.
identify it, what are you supposed to do?
Well, there's a number there to call, and then we're going to continue. Our next step would be to instruct the homeowners as to what they can do. We're going to do it on the town level, removing ash trees. And we'll further advise them if they
You
do have
can
one.
spray it. I mean, it's a process, but it's expensive too. And only prolongs it in essence. So really, the cost-effective way is to cut it
To
down.
remove the tree.
And to remove
before
the tree,
it's really-
unfortunately, yeah. So,
So I just wanted to present that to you and,
Okay, thank you.
and see what you guys think. We have time to make a decision, but time goes by quickly. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Mr. Moore?
I was just curious, for ordinance 19...
Your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Peterson's, 314 Woodlawn Avenue. I was just curious, for ordinance 1922, how long, that, pilot agreement was for?
30 years.
30 years?
30 years.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Council President Riker?
Second.
Councilman Begg, all in favor?
aye.
Against? Anybody have privilege of the floor? Nope. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Giaconetti, Council President Riker, thank you everyone for coming. Do you want to talk more about that or not?
Did you want it?
Yes.
You want it.
You want to go in there or you want to do it here? Well, as soon as people get out of here, that's the problem. Now, I didn't want to bring up the... So you talked to them the other day, I'm looking at trying to...